Just welcome everybody, and thanks for being patient with me here. I'm in a homemade studio, let's put it that way. And so I'm hoping this thing continues to work and doesn't fall in front of me in my lap. It's a little bit tenuous, it's an iPad, but it's nice to see everybody on the screen. If I scroll around, I get most everybody's face. And it's been a while for all of us. It certainly has been a different year. I'm glad to have us headed back to training camp now, and a lot of good stuff to look forward to, but a lot of big challenges ahead. Not necessarily all of them, obviously, on the field. So with that, Ryan, fire away.
Hey, Joe, thanks for doing this. What's the conversations with Michael Hancock so far in the city about how many fans can be allowed into a home game, and do you feel that's close to being announced?
We've had conversations with the city and the state throughout this process. They've both been great to work with. They have access to a lot of the same science information, medical professionals that we in the NFL, through the NFL, have had access to. I think they've both been very deliberate and very cautious in a really good way. And I think it's really helped Colorado in an area surrounded by a lot of states in the Sun Belt and the Southwest and the West, obviously, where things had the potential to get out of control or more out of control than they have, I guess is the way I put it. So I've been really impressed with them, and they're proceeding with caution, and so are we. We want to do the right thing. I don't have a set number of fans for you, Ryan, nor do I know when fans will be in the stands. But we're going to work through that. We're going to do it in partnership with the governor and the mayor, the city of Denver. And whatever we do, we'll have the health and safety and welfare of our fans, our players, our coaches, our entire staff, all of you that are working. It's just a different deal. But we aren't going to put out any number or make any demands. We're going to work together with the governor's office, the mayor's office, and make sure we do this the right way.
Next, we've got Troy Rank, Denver 7, followed by Nick Kosminer. Troy, go ahead, please.
Joe, I'm sure you're cognizant of what's going on with baseball this morning. They've had to postpone and cancel several games. The Marlins are essentially on pause. What is the key with the NFL in terms of being able to start and complete a season? Is how do you, from your the ownership, your view there? Are you guys looking at it with you have time to play with and watch these other leagues, or how are you trying to approach this to kind of pull off a season of some length, hopefully 16 games?
Right. I mean, that's the hope. But you never know. Hope's not a strategy. I think the commissioner said that. I've said that. But we just have to work through it almost day by day, Troy, is the way I look at it. And something's going to pop up. Today it was the Marlins. It was a number of teams having to cancel games. A lot of uncertainty there. We're not in a bubble, but we're going to have to behave and act like we are. And that's not just players. That's coaches. That's myself. That's John Elway and his staff. That's everybody in the buildings, plural. It's really important that we follow these protocols and procedures that have been set up. I can't say enough about the task force that we put together internally, headed up by Brittany Bolin, that really sat down, rolled up their sleeves. This is the first time they've been called on. They didn't sign up for this, and yet they worked together in tandem with everybody at the league and put all of their heart and soul into making sure that we had all the protocols and procedures, as I said, in place. If you saw our building, the work that Chip Conway, Nancy Svoboda, Steve Antonopoulos have done on this, it's incredible. And Brittany's done a good job of keeping the wheels on the rails, the trains on the track, if you will, because there's a lot of stuff that happens every day that changes so much of this. And, it's on all 250 of us, and everybody's putting in the time and the effort under some really stressful circumstances, frankly, with the disease, balancing family needs and family desires. So, I just can't say enough about all the work that the folks down at the stadium. We're ready to go. Jay Roberts, Scott Bleak have been on NFL task committees, have been working with the city almost on a daily basis, in touch with the other teams. there's so much going on here. And there's so much going on to try and host fans in the stands, but we will be prepared when that day comes, if it comes. You know, I've just been sitting back watching for the most part, trying to stay the heck out of the way. And I've just watched a lot of talented people, you know, put their heart and soul on the line for the organization and all of our community in turn, so that we can bring football back to the area.
Next, we got Nick Kosmider with The Athletic, followed by Mark Kizla. Nick, go ahead, please.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for taking the time. You mentioned sort of a day-to-day operation as the way that you're looking at this. What do you just view as the most difficult, that will be the most difficult part of pulling this season off?
Just the changes that are going to occur that might stem us or slow us down in terms of progress. There's going to be something that happens. I don't know if I hope it's not us. We got a real chance to have a competitive advantage if we can all follow the protocols and the procedures and do right by wearing a mask and the 6 foot distancing and everybody wears the tracking device when they're at the facilities. All that kind of stuff. We got a chance, but if you stray from that, there's going to be problems, you know, and it's an awful lot to keep 250 plus people in line. I understand that, but I can't emphasize enough that that's what we got to strive to do. It's, as I said to my answer to Troy, it's on everybody here at the Broncos, everyone, not just the players, not just the coaches. It's on everybody. So I think the biggest challenge, Nick, will be a diversion here or there, and there are probably going to be several. But we'll be as prepared as anybody. I'm pretty confident in that.
Next, we got Mark Kizla. Mark, go ahead, please.
Well, I only have 2 loaded questions. The first is, you mentioned the challenge of 250 people. How big a challenge is that in that can your players be football monks for 6 months? I mean, that's a very hard thing to do, and you can't babysit them. So I think you can do well within your campus, but outside the campus is a whole different challenge. And the second part is kneeling and where your team is with that.
Okay, I'll answer the first part. I mean, you're right. We can't control what happens when they go home. We're not gonna, we're not gonna babysit them and spy on them or anything like that. That's not, they're grown-ups. We'll just ask them to conduct themselves appropriately, to take care of themselves such that they'll be taking care of the whole organization, their teammates specifically and their coaches. We got some good guys on the team, I think, that can help get that message through to them. The players this morning held a meeting with the coach held a meeting with the players and some of the people, Steve Antonopoulos and Nancy Svoboda from our office, Chip Conway and others. Patrick was in there, going over all of the COVID stuff. And the players had a lot of questions. They got a lot of concerns. It's an emotional issue for them. That was very much noted in our ownership negotiations. We heard that often with the executive council, the owners group that negotiated the economic deal that finally got us back here into camp. But they're very concerned. And, I hope they take those concerns to heart and take them home. We're down to 80 guys. That's a lot of guys to manage in that area. And we'll see where it goes. But I'm confident we'll give them enough information and remind them enough and communicate with them enough such that they'll understand. It's 6 months. It's a long time, let's say, right? But it's 6 months out of a long life. And if we all follow the right protocols and procedures and we all behave ourselves the way we should, we can get through this thing, okay? I mean, 1 year out of or 6 months out of someone's life is not the same thing I recognize as 6 months out of somebody's playing career. That's a little bit different. But having said that, it's just, we really don't have a choice. We just have to be very careful here. And, I just have faith in our guys. I really do. And in listening, I wasn't a part of that meeting this morning, unfortunately, but I wish I'd been on the Zoom call and heard them because from what I heard, they have a lot of concerns and a lot of a lot of questions. They want to do this right. They don't want to get sick. They don't want to carry it over to their homes, to their families, all that kind of stuff. So I respect that, and I'm optimistic that they're going to, play by the rules and the procedures and everything else that we've set up. On the anthem, everyone's got a right to do as they please, express themselves as they feel, and I'm going to respect that. We're going to respect that as an organization. I think once we get down to 53, my guess is, Mark, that the players will meet and convene, and they'll want to do something as a team. And I will be there to listen and learn. And it's been an eye-opening period of about 3 months now. And I, as I said, I'm going to respect whatever it is that they decide to do. We're going to stand by that as an organization.
And how do you relate that, whatever they decide, to paying customers that also feel very passionate about the anthem and protocols there?
We're going to work through that, but as I say, we respect our players, and we respect what their values are and how strongly they feel about what's going on in this country. And they have a right to decide what they want to do with respect to the anthem. And again, I keep overusing the word, but I'm going to respect that. We're going to respect that as an organization.
Next, we've got Eric Dalala, followed by Andrew Mason. Eric, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Joe, back to the stadium for a second. We've seen some other teams in baseball put up cardboard cutouts or have noise or things like that. Have there been any discussions, if fans aren't allowed, about what a game day might look like?
Yeah, there have. I won't get into specifics about cardboard cutouts. Some good, some bad. Fan noise, hard to tell. Playing football in a 75,000 seat stadium without any fans is going to be odd if that were to happen, no question about it. So hopefully we can do some things to spice up the environment a little bit, make it more or add to the entertainment value of television minus fans, since they'll be missing. But no concrete plans. Some things have been talked about. No concrete plans. We will do this banner program in the lower bowl, regardless, and that's about it for now. I think just still a lot of stuff in the works, and a ways to go before we are able to let fans know they can come back into the stadium to watch games. But I will say this: almost to a T, when I've been out and around about town and anywhere, people want to come watch us play. They really do. But we have to respect the fact that it's important for everybody in this community, in this state, to stay safe, follow the protocols that the governor has put in place, and do everything we can not to put any people in harm's way. So we'll follow that.
Next, we've got Andrew Mason, followed by Arnie Stapleton. Andrew, go ahead, please.
Joe, what have been the most profound impacts of this pandemic on your day-to-day tasks as team president?
Not too much on me. There's been a lot more on everybody else. And I got to tell you, I started out saying this, I think, in the original answer to Ryan's question. I'm just really proud of the way people stepped up. We put together a task force with 11 or so people, and they went down a layer into their staffs and came up with a great plan. And they have worked really hard throughout the summer to do that. And we've stayed on task. We have not slipped in any area. As I said, Brittany has a weekly call, and there's one after this meeting, as a matter of fact. I sit back and listen. I've been kind of gathering some information from the league, trying to get a sense of when we would be able to bring the players back into the building. That was the biggest thing, and strike an economic deal with them and those kinds of things. So that's kind of been my focus. But in terms of rolling up the sleeve and hard work, that's been done by every single other person in the company. And it's, as I said earlier, it's been very impressive.
Next, we've got Arnie with the AP, followed by Jeff Legwold. Arnie, go ahead, please.
Hey, Joe, good to see you.
Hi, Arnie.
Howdy. Earlier this summer, a good number of you players spoke out downtown at the social justice demonstrations. Jeremiah and others are very eloquent. I'm wondering, what was your takeaway from watching the players gather and have that voice?
Well, I have several, and they start actually before the protest, the march that took place that we all participated in. It started with a couple of Zoom calls that Vic put together as part of the off-season program. One with the offense, one with the defense and special teamers, and they talked through these through some issues. And I got on there and told them that, of course, there's no place for racism or discrimination or anything like that at all in our organization, and that what we had witnessed was horrific with respect to some of the killings that took place. And I wanted to hear from them. We all kind of wanted to hear from them and their feelings on the matters. And usually when you say, if you have anything to say on a Zoom call with players, or I have a meeting with them over the years on anything, you guys have any questions? Not really any people speak up. That was a little different back in June, okay? The meetings lasted over an hour. Multiple players spoke up eloquently, passionately, emotionally, shared personal experiences that they each had. For someone like myself, it was a significant eye-opener. And so I've spent a lot of time reflecting on that. The march, I got to talk to several of the new players, and it was enlightening. It was cordial. It was some of the older guys brought their kids, and I think that was the thing that was most that I'll carry with me the most, was people like Kareem Jackson and Jarrell Casey and Todd Davis and others saying, I just don't want it to be this way for my kids. And so what I've told them is, we're committed to addressing these issues with you. We are going to keep listening to you. But the one thing we can't do is we can't drop it. We have to stick with it, because if you remember what happened back in 2017, we all got on this train to take good steps and really some significant steps, getting players involved with certain platforms and programs in the community to address social justice and social inequities and racism and things of the like. And we did it for a while, and then everybody kind of lost interest, and it got back to where it was. And all of a sudden we had this incredible string of horrific incidents. And what I told the players, and they said it simultaneously, frankly, is, I'm not going to let this drop. Don't let this drop. We got to stay on it. We got to keep pushing the agenda, keep pushing the messaging out. And so I've talked to Patrick, I've talked to Ali Engelken, and we've got some things lined up. But right now we're trying to get through the COVID period. I haven't talked to the players about it, but we're committed to following through for them and keeping it going as we move forward. And that was the thing, just to listen to those players, Arnie, I guess, to get back to the crux of your question, and hear their stories and hear their anger and their passion towards this. It caught my attention, to say the least.
Next, we've got Jeff Legel at ESPN. Jeff, go ahead, please.
Joe, I'm just curious, in light of what you just talked about, and then in terms of the preparations for COVID and even the football side of the operation, how has sort of the virtual world, how's that impacted how you run the organization in terms of just keeping in contact with everybody and feeling good about, where people stand and what they think? And has it impacted any of that, even as you've tried to get ready for training camp?
No, it's just been part of it. A lot of Zoom calls, Jeff, and some town halls. I waited to do, I did some in July earlier this month, and I'm waiting till we kind of get the players settled in, the coaches and everybody back up, and we're in a rhythm of training camp, actually off season strength and conditioning, I guess, to start, right? But when we do that, we're going to have a set of town meetings a week from tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. And, I've done them before in person. And I asked folks, do you have any questions? And one or two people might put their hands up. But in this environment, with the uncertainty and the anxiety and some of the stresses they're taking personally, nobody's holding back. Everybody asks questions. So these meetings take longer than they normally would, which is a great thing. We listen to everybody. There's a lot of concerns about the virus, about the season, about everything, about furloughs, about payroll deductions, all this kind of stuff. And, I understand it. And we go through, we give them honest answers. And, I think it's a respectful conversation when we have these meetings, and I actually enjoy it. And what I would say to you, Jeff, is in some ways, it's brought us closer together and gotten us to know each other a little bit more in some respects. I'd rather do all of this in person. I'd rather be there with you guys in person. Getting a little tired of touching my screen all the time and all that. But listen, it's surprising to me, but it's actually increased the communication in many ways.
Next we've got Ryan O'Halloran with the Denver Post. Ryan, go ahead.
Hey, Joe. Trial with the trustees and two of Pat's daughters starts on September 1st. 2 parts on this. How have you kept from this being a distraction to your everyday job? And secondly, how confident is it that your side is going to prevail?
I won't answer the second question. There's a protective order that's been issued by the judge that does go to court, as you mentioned, on September 1st, and that's on schedule. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to do anything that would be disruptive or against the judicial process. We've been asked to stay confidential on that, so I will do that. It's not a distraction. I get to watch everybody report into me, call me, talk to me all the time, all day about what's going on and things that we got to be concerned about, things we need to address on the company side. We've been able to focus on football. Really hasn't been a distraction at all.
Next, we've got Mike Kliss, KUSA. Mike, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Joe, I was just wondering how big an economic impact has this virus pandemic been to the NFL and the Broncos, revenue loss wise?
Right. Well, there's setbacks, Mike. Obviously, we're offering up refunds to anybody who's doesn't attend games or wants to get a full refund on their season tickets, and where they can put it towards next year. So that affects the revenue streams for sure. Some of the local media contracts your station won't have preseason games on because there are no preseason games, things of the like. So it's certainly a setback in terms of local revenues. I'm hoping we can, we'll get the full season in, and that would be good in terms of national television and some other national exposure. Our sponsorships we're negotiating with some folks on certain aspects of the sponsorships. So it has an effect, and it takes a little bit of a slice out of things. But I got to tell you, the work that Justin Webster, our CFO, has done every day on this, staying in touch with department heads, working through some things, some sacrifices that some people have had to make in terms of staffing and whatnot. We're prepared for this. I'm not at all worried about the organization. I don't want to weather 2 years of the pandemic. I think that would be a difficult thing for everybody, including all of us on the screen, myself and everyone else. But I'm optimistic about 21, and I'm not worried about this year. We're going to get through it, I think, just fine.
Next, we've got Arnie Stapleton, followed by Zach Stevens. Arnie, go ahead, please.
Hey, Joe, I just wanted to ask one question. Now we have a team in Las Vegas, and your organization has this trio of sponsorships with gambling companies. I'm wondering if you could just speak to the change in philosophy in pro sports, your sport in particular, where it's gone from taboo to partnership with gambling?
Well, I think there's just a general acceptance that this is part of the everyday entertainment. I don't know what the right word is, but entertainment value that you get in pro sports, and lots of people place wagers on it. And the league came around to the fact that what was the Supreme Court case that allowed various states to implement it a couple of years back. So, I think we have good procedures in place as a league to ensure the fans that the games are played properly and without any skullduggery, if you will. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I'm trying to tell you. And so, it's an opportunity to catch a lot of fans, touch a lot of fans in a different way that we haven't been able to do in the past. And obviously, we signed up 3 companies to do online betting services in terms of the sponsorship and some other things. So it's just kind of the way of the world right now. It's very familiar over in other parts of across the Atlantic and stuff with soccer and other sports. So we're on board with it, and we monitor it carefully. And I'm not worried about the integrity of the game being breached in any way. I think we've got good rules and protocols and understanding by our players. And if something ever were to come up that might impeach that, I think we're prepared to take action. So I appreciate the fact that the league has adapted and come on board with something that's really become sort of standard in a lot of households.
Final 2, Zach Stevens and Brandon Cristal. Zach, go ahead, please.
Hey, Joe, thanks for talking with us today. You mentioned that some players are very concerned surrounding COVID. Have you talked to any of them specifically, and what is your message to them, or what would be your message to them specifically with players having the option to opt out this week?
Well, the opt-out option is a player's choice and a player's right, and we'll respect if a player decides to do that. That's absolutely 100% their right inherently. So got no objection to that at all, and be supportive of that if that's what somebody wants to do. And that's been going on around the league, as you've seen, going around other sports leagues as well. What was the first part of your question? Help me out.
Have you talked to any players surrounding?
Oh, that's right. Just in passing, when a lot of the guys that were coming in for physical therapy, Bradley Chubb, Dalton Reisner, a few of the other guys, they were all very curious at that time. That was mostly in June. I haven't talked to anybody in July. I intend to speak to guys on some virtual meetings. I'm staying clear of the facility. I think the less people we have in there, the less chance of someone messing things up. So, but I'll speak to players along the way. I had some good conversations though with the guys I mentioned before, and they were very, very curious about this. And I don't want to say concerned. That was, but they wanted to know what was going to happen and how it was going to be handled and things like that. So it's at the front of their minds. Mark Kisla asked the question about how you're going to keep these guys reined in. I think a lot of them are prepared to rein themselves in. I really do. And I hope I'm right, because all it takes is 1 or 2 or something where things go wrong. So, but I look forward to having more communication with them when I can. It'll be 12 feet apart. We might be yelling at each other a little bit, but I'll come out to some practices and try to keep a distance and do things the right way, and get a feel for how they're doing when things get going here.
Final 1, Brandon Cristal, KOA. Brandon, go ahead, please.
Hey, Joe, you mentioned the economics and checking in with the league, and I may know how you're going to answer this or not answer this, but I'm curious, with the concerns over lost revenue league-wide, how do you see that playing out? Because the idea that all the teams are going to be cool with $70 million less on a salary cap or even a huge chunk seems, I think a lot to bite off, especially if you have to cut veteran guys. So can you shed any light on how you think that may go?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you were able to read any of the reports, but essentially some of the salary cap pain got spread out over a certain period of time. We'll recover from it. I think the players will be fine. I think we'll be fine. It's just there's some short-term pain that everybody's going to participate in, and that's no different than anybody else in any other company across the country. Some of their pain is a heck of a lot worse than ours. That's for sure, right? So I don't think there's any need for, hand-wringing or sympathy or us complaining about any of that going forward. We just got to roll up our sleeves and make this work collectively. Players, coaches, organizations, owners, everybody. And I think we'll do that.
All right, Joe, thanks for taking the time to jump on with everyone.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good to see you.